There are so many factors to consider when investing in real estate. So how do we simplify the real estate investment process? Well, if you watch my last two videos on how to invest in real estate, you now have a good understanding of the two biggest hurdles blocking most people from even getting started, as well as the type of real estate investment you'd like to pursue to help you on your path to more freedom, flexibility, while creating generational wealth through real estate. So now it's time for step 3, which is assembling your team. So to start, here's a common list of everyone that could be involved in the acquisition. Your realtor, lender, title rep, escrow agent, home inspector, and possibly other inspectors just depending on the property type, appraiser, insurance agent, notary agent, property manager, movers, the list goes on. And there can be additions and variations to this list just depending on the type and location of the real estate you're considering investing in. But as you can see, there's a lot of moving pieces. So when most initially see this list for the very first time, the question that almost always comes up is, where do I start? Well, most people in the industry will tell you it starts with the lender. And while I agree it's one of the most important relationships in this transaction, it's actually not where I recommend starting. I believe the first person to consider when building your team is the realtor. Now, I know I might be a bit biased on this because of my career, but hear me out as to why. The reason for this is the realtor is the glue that keeps your transaction together from start to finish and beyond. They make sure everyone involved in the transaction has everything they need and that all agreed upon timelines are being met. And if there's any sort of a challenge that comes up during the transaction, which unfortunately almost always happens, they're typically the ones leading the charge and finding a solution. Through these experiences, they've had the opportunity to work with various vendors and gotten to know which niches each one excels at. Now keep in mind, your realtor not only sees everything that's client facing during this transaction, but also has depth into everything going on behind the curtain. And because everyone's situation is unique, the realtor almost always knows which direction to go based on the client's needs. So here's an example. Let's say there's a client who's self-employed and has 10 investment properties. I know from personal experience there's not a huge pool of lenders out there who'd be able to work with this person, and in the same respect, I know a few lenders that have some pretty incredible portfolio lending options that could potentially be a great fit. However, these portfolio lenders are sometimes not the same lender I would recommend to let's say a first-time home buyer looking to purchase a single-family home as their primary residence. Another example, if someone came to me looking to purchase a floating home, I do know how to write the contract and can see it to close, but more importantly, I know there are so many nuances to owning a floating home, and the person wanting to make this acquisition is way better off working with a realtor whose focus and experience is in floating homes. So I would personally then recommend them to the best floating home realtor that I know of. So none of this means you have to work with your realtor's recommendations, but your realtor should know how to help you assemble a team to make the transaction as smooth as possible for you and provide you with a list of questions to consider asking in your evaluation of various team members. Ultimately, the most important guiding advice is to trust your instincts when evaluating each member of your team. Do you feel they have your best intentions in mind? Well, for the skeptics out there, it is illegal to receive any sort of a kickback from a third-party vendor like a lender or a moving company or an inspector, at least in Washington State. So once you have clarity on the main members in your team and you've now gotten your pre-approval, you're ready for step 4, analyzing a property, and you're now ahead of 82% of the people considering investing in real estate. So you're setting yourself up for more freedom, flexibility, while creating generational wealth. I'm Nick Chambers, Chambers Northwest, a Windermere team. Thanks for watching and happy holidays.